Imagine you're sitting at your kitchen table, coffee in hand, and you finally decide to figure out this Social Security question.
You've been putting it off because, honestly, it feels overwhelming, and you know you can start collecting at 62.
You've heard that waiting until 70 is smarter, but nobody's ever actually shown you the math with all the pieces together.
Here's the thing, and this is important. This isn't just a math problem. It's a permanent decision. The day you claim Social Security, you lock in a monthly benefit for the rest of your life with no undo button. Depending on which age you choose, the difference in what you receive over a long retirement can be enormous. We're talking 6 figures over a lifetime, even on a modest benefit, and that's what we're going to walk through today. By the end of this video, you'll understand 4 things that most people never get to see in the same place. First, how the claiming rules actually work in plain English, not government speak, so you can finally make sense of them. Second, the break-even age, which is the single most important number that most people have never actually calculated for themselves. Third, the tax layer, which is a hidden cost that can quietly shrink your benefit no matter when you decide to claim. Fourth, a simple, practical framework you can use at your kitchen table to think through your own personal situation. Stick with me until the end because I'm going to give you Uncle John's Social Security Clarity Check, a step-by-step decision framework. More than 56 million retired workers and their family members are currently receiving Social Security benefits every single month. As of early 2026, the average monthly check for a retired worker is roughly $2,079. That is not a fortune. And for most Americans, Social Security is not a bonus, it's a foundation. It covers housing, it covers food, and it's the income that doesn't stop no matter how long you live. This one choice, made on one day, will affect how much of that foundation you have for every month of your retirement. If you live to 85, 90, or beyond, a difference of several $100s a month compounds into a very significant number. Here's what makes this especially tricky right now, because the rules are not simple, and they layer on top of each other. The timing rules, the earnings test if you're still working, the tax thresholds, and the spousal dynamics all interact with each other. Most people only learn one piece of the puzzle, make a decision, and then find out years later what they missed. That is not going to happen to you today. So let me explain this simply and clearly, right from the beginning. Think of Social Security like a garden hose, where you can turn it on now and get a lower flow for longer. Or you can wait, and when you finally turn it on, the pressure is much higher, but you've been waiting the whole time. The Social Security Administration gives you a window of 8 years from age 62 to age 70 to decide when to start. Every single month you wait inside that window changes the pressure of that hose permanently for the rest of your life. If you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age, what the SSA calls your FRA, is 67. That's the age at which you receive 100% of the benefit you've earned based on your lifetime work history. If you claim before 67, your benefit is permanently reduced according to a specific formula the SSA uses for everyone. For each of the first 36 months you claim early, your benefit goes down by 0.5% per month. For any additional months beyond that first 36, it drops by 0.5% for each additional month early. What that works out to in practice is this. If you claim at 62, your monthly benefit is permanently reduced by 30%. 30% less than what you would have received at 67, and that reduction stays with you for the rest of your life. On the flip side, if you delay past 67, you earn what are called delayed retirement credits for every year you wait. For every year you wait past your full retirement age, your benefit grows by 8%, and that adds up significantly. If you wait all the way from 67 to 70, That's a 24% increase on top of your full benefit amount. At age 70, the meter stops. And waiting past 70 earns you nothing additional. So the sweet spot window ends right there. To put some real numbers to this, the official figures from the Social Security Administration for 2026 are very telling. The maximum monthly benefit for a worker with a full maximum earnings history is $2,969 at 62. If that same maximum earnings worker waits until 70, their monthly benefit rises all the way to $5,181. That's a difference of over $2,000 a month, every single month, for the rest of that person's life. Now, most of us are not maximum earners, and most of us fall somewhere in the middle of that spectrum. But the percentage difference is exactly the same, regardless of where your benefit lands, and that's the important thing to understand. 30% less if you claim at 62, and 24% more if you wait until 70 applies to everyone equally. So the question becomes, when does waiting actually pay off? And that brings us to the concept of the break-even age. Now that you understand the foundation, let's talk about the parts that can trip you up, the things nobody puts in the brochure. There are 3 traps I want to walk you through, and I want to give each one a simple, memorable name so they stick. The first trap is called the permanent discount. And this one is deceptively simple in the way it catches people off guard. People claim early because they want the money now, or because they worry the program won't be there, or to invest it. What they don't always account for is that the reduction is not temporary, and it doesn't expire after a few years. That lower check is your check for life, and if you claim at 62 and live to 88, the math catches up. The point where it catches up has a name, and that name is the break-even age, which we'll get to in the example. Based on illustrative modeling, the break-even between claiming at 62 and waiting until 70 typically lands somewhere around age 80 to 81. If you live past that age, waiting wins in total lifetime dollars, and if you don't, claiming early put more money in your pocket. The SSA's own actuarial tables tell us that a 65-year-old man today has an average of about 17 and a half more years. For a 65-year-old woman, that average life expectancy is about 20 more years of remaining life from age 65. The SSA itself has noted that more than 1 in 3 65-year-olds today will live all the way to age 90. So for many people watching this right now, that break-even age of around 80 to 81 is very much in play. The second trap is called the tax torpedo, and this one surprises people the most because it hits them at tax season. Here's how it works. The federal government uses a formula to decide how much of your Social Security benefit is taxable income. They add together your adjusted gross income, any tax-exempt interest you receive, and half of your Social Security benefits for the year. They call this your provisional income, or sometimes your combined income, and then they compare it to 2 specific threshold amounts. If your provisional income stays below $25,000 as a single filer, your Social Security benefits are not taxed at all. For a married couple filing jointly, that lower threshold where your benefits stay completely tax-free is $32,000 in provisional income. But once you cross those thresholds, up to 50% of your benefit can become taxable, which starts to affect your net income. Cross the second threshold, which is $34,000 for single filers and $44,000 for married couples, and the situation changes further. Above that second threshold, up to 85% of your Social Security benefit can be counted as taxable income for the year. That 85% is the cap. It doesn't go higher than that, but it's still a significant portion of your monthly check. Now, here's the part that stings. Those thresholds were set back in 1983 and 1993 and have never been adjusted for inflation. As Social Security benefits have grown with cost of living increases over the decades, more and more retirees find themselves crossing those thresholds. It's not because they're wealthy, it's simply because the goalposts never moved, while benefits grew larger with each passing year. The tax torpedo has a specific shape inside those thresholds that makes it especially painful for people in the middle income range. Every extra dollar of income you bring in, say a withdrawal from a traditional IRA, doesn't just add $1 of taxable income. It can simultaneously make up to 85 cents of your Social Security benefit taxable as well, stacking the effect on your tax bill. So effectively, in that phase-out zone, your marginal tax rate can be substantially higher than your actual federal income tax bracket suggests. Tax professionals sometimes call this a marginal rate spike, and it's a real planning consideration for anyone with mixed retirement income sources. This is not meant to scare you. It is meant to make sure you don't discover this for the first time at tax season. The third trap is called the earnings test, and this one catches people who are still working when they decide to start claiming. If you claim Social Security before your full retirement age and you're still earning wages, the SSA applies what's called the earnings test. In 2026, if you earn more than $24,480 in a year, the SSA temporarily withholds benefits. They withhold $1 of benefits for every $2 you earn above that limit, which can significantly reduce your monthly payment. Notice I said temporarily, because that's actually important. When you reach full retirement age, the SSA recalculates your benefit to account for withheld months. Your future check is adjusted upward to reflect those months, so the money isn't entirely lost, but your cash flow is affected in the meantime. The clean answer here is this. If you're still working and earning meaningful income, model the interaction carefully before you decide to claim. Okay, I want to show you what all of this actually looks like with a realistic example, and maybe you'll see yourself here. Meet Sandra, who is 62 years old, lives in a state with no state income tax, and has worked the same job for 30 years. She's in good health, her mother lived to 89, and she has about $220,000 in a traditional IRA. She's thinking hard about retiring this year, and she's weighing two very different paths for when to claim her Social Security benefits.
Sandra's estimated Social Security benefit at her full retirement age of 67 is $2,000 a month, confirmed in the SSA portal.
Path 1 is to claim at 62, where her benefit drops by 30%, meaning she'd receive $1,400 a month starting now. Over the next 8 years, from 62 to 70, she'd collect roughly $134,000 in total Social Security payments. Path 2 is to wait until 70, collecting nothing from Social Security for those 8 years, but earning a much higher permanent benefit. At 70, her benefit would be 24% above her full retirement age amount, coming out to roughly $2,480. Now here's the math Sandra needed to see, because after age 70, Path 2's higher monthly benefit starts catching up to Path 1's head start. The crossover, the break-even, happens roughly around age 80 to 81 in this illustration, based on the assumptions we've stated for Sandra's case. After that break-even point, every single month Sandra is alive, she is ahead financially by having chosen to wait until 70. Sandra looks at her family history, her health, and the SSA's calculator, and she decides it's a reasonable bet she'll live past 81. She also has her IRA to draw from during the bridge years between 62 and 70, which gives her the income she needs. She's careful about how much she draws each year, keeping withdrawals modest to stay below the provisional income thresholds that trigger Social Security taxation.
Because Sandra's IRA withdrawals during her wait period are modest, she stays below the $25,000 threshold for her filing status.
If she had claimed at 62 and added Social Security on top of those same IRA withdrawals, she might have crossed into the taxable zone. By waiting and managing her IRA draws carefully, Sandra keeps more of her income out of the federal tax net during those early years. Now, this is important. Sandra's path is not the right path for everyone, and I want to say that clearly and directly.
Someone in poor health with a shorter expected lifespan might make a completely different, completely rational, and completely correct decision to claim earlier.
Someone who desperately needs the income right now doesn't have the luxury of waiting, and that is a perfectly valid situation to be in.
This is not a moral judgment about what a smart person does. It's a math conversation about trade-offs based on your individual circumstances.
What Sandra's story illustrates is what it looks like when someone actually does the math before deciding. And that brings us to the framework. I want to give you a simple, structured way to think through your own Social Security timing decision. And I call this Uncle John's Social Security Clarity Check. 5 steps, and you can start this week, beginning with going to get your actual real numbers from the Social Security Administration's website. Step 1. Go to ssa.gov and create or log in to your My Social Security account, which is completely free to use.
What you're looking for is your personalized benefit statement, showing your estimated monthly benefit at 62, at your full retirement age, and at 70.
These are the real numbers for your situation, not national averages or illustrations, but your actual projected benefit at each claiming age.
Step 2. Calculate your personal break-even age by taking the difference in monthly benefit between your two options and doing some simple division.
Divide the monthly benefit difference into the total you'd collect during the waiting period, and the result is roughly how many months to break even.
Add that number of months to the age you'd start the bigger benefit, and you have your approximate personal break-even age to work with. It's not a guarantee, but it is a genuine guide, and it changes everything about how you think about this decision going forward. Step 3. Honestly assess your health and your family history, because the SSA's life expectancy calculator is available right there at ssa.gov.
It gives you a personalized estimate based on your age and gender, and then you can factor in your own health picture on top of that.
If your break-even age is 81 and your gut says you're likely to live well past that, waiting may be worth seriously considering.
If you have serious health concerns, earlier claiming may genuinely serve you better, and there's no shame in making that choice thoughtfully. Step 4. Map your income bridge. Because if you're considering waiting until 70, you need a clear plan for income in the meantime. This might be continued part-time work, IRA or 401k withdrawals, a pension, a spouse's income, or some practical combination of these sources. Write down your expected annual income from all sources during the waiting years. Then check whether it pushes you above the provisional income thresholds. Single filers, remember, your first threshold is $25,000 in combined income, and for joint filers, it's $32,000. If you're near or above those numbers, it's worth thinking carefully about your withdrawal strategy before you make any final claiming decision. Step 5. Factor in your spouse if you have one, because this is one of the most important and most overlooked pieces of the puzzle. For married couples, the higher earner's claiming decision directly affects what the surviving spouse will receive for the rest of their life. When one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse keeps the larger of the two benefits, which can be critically important for long-term financial security. If the higher earner delays until 70 and locks in a larger check, that larger check becomes the survivor's income going forward. For couples where there's a meaningful difference in earning histories, this factor alone often points toward having the higher earner delay their claim. That's Uncle John's Social Security Clarity Check in 5 steps, and you can begin with step 1 this week at ssa.gov. Now, there are a few more layers worth mentioning, not because you need to solve them today, but because you should know they exist. The first is Roth conversion strategy during the bridge years, which applies if you're delaying Social Security and drawing from a traditional IRA. When you're waiting to claim and your taxable income is relatively low, this can be a window to convert some traditional IRA funds to Roth. You'd pay the tax now at a potentially lower rate to reduce future required minimum distributions that could otherwise push you into higher brackets later. This is a complex move, and the math is very individual, so a qualified tax professional or fiduciary financial planner is essential for this one.
The second advanced consideration is state taxation, because as of 2025, 9 states still tax Social Security benefits to varying degrees.
Those states are Colorado, Connecticut, Minnesota, Montana, New Mexico, Rhode Island, Utah, Vermont, and West Virginia, which is phasing its tax out starting in 2026.
If you live in one of those states, that's an additional layer to factor into your net benefit calculation when you're running the numbers.
The third consideration is the Social Security Fairness Act, signed in early 2025, which matters if you or your spouse worked in public sector jobs. If you were previously subject to the windfall elimination provision or the government pension offset, those provisions have now been repealed under the new law. Some public sector retirees are seeing benefit adjustments as a result, so log into your My Social Security account and verify your updated estimated benefits.
For any of these more complex situations, I genuinely encourage you to sit down with a fee-only fiduciary financial planner or a CPA who works with retirees. Not because this is too hard to understand, but because the right answer depends on your full picture, and a professional can model it properly. I want to leave you with a thought that I find genuinely helpful whenever a big, permanent feeling decision starts to feel overwhelming and hard to navigate. A ship's captain doesn't just stare at where the ship is right now, they plot the course to where they want to be. Then they make small adjustments as conditions change along the way, and Social Security timing works exactly like that kind of navigation. You're not trying to predict your exact future. You're trying to make the best decision you can with the information you have today. You're doing the right thing by learning this now, before you sign on the dotted line, because this stuff is genuinely complex and layered. Most people don't sit down and work through all of these layers until they're already staring at the SSA application, but you're ahead of that. One important note before I let you go. Everything in this video is educational and is meant to help you understand how Social Security works generally. It is not personalized tax, legal, financial, or Social Security advice, and everyone's situation is different in ways that a YouTube video cannot fully address. Your income mix, your health, your spouse's situation, your state of residence, and your other assets all matter in ways that are specific to you. Before you make a claiming decision, please sit down with a qualified fiduciary financial planner or a CPA who works with retirees on this. They can model your specific numbers in a way that a YouTube video, no matter how detailed, simply cannot do for your individual situation. If this video helped you see the picture more clearly, I'd love it if you'd hit like and subscribe to Uncle John Financial today. We put out videos like this every week, plain English with no sales pitch, just the real picture for people who are planning their retirement. Leave me a comment below and tell me one word. What's the biggest feeling you have about this decision right now as you're watching this? Is it confused or ready or nervous or relieved? Whatever it is, drop it in the comments and I read every single one. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.